Greetings. Today we continue our study of the names of God. This would be number 16 in the series. It comes from Genesis 15:1, and it's the name Jehovah, accompanied with a compound name, Magen and Shakar. It says, "After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward." We'll also use Hebrews 11:6, where it says, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is and the article is there, the rewarder of them that diligently seek him." So we'll begin by looking at a little word study of these two words. The word that's translated shield in Genesis 15:1 is the Hebrew word Magen, M-A-G-E-N. It's Strong's number 04043. In the 59th Psalm in verse 11, it says, "O Lord, our shield," same word. We're all very familiar with David the psalmist and David the shepherd king. But we may not realize that David was also a mighty man of war. In fact, it was this blood guiltiness in his warfare for which God would not allow him to build the temple that he desired to build for God. It was more than the blood of Uriah the Hittite that was shed according to 1 Chronicles chapter 22 and verse number 8, because it says, "But the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Thou hast shed blood abundantly, and hast made great wars. Thou shalt not build a house unto my name, because thou hast shed much blood upon the earth in my sight." Let's listen to some of the references, many of them that David made, to God's ability to be his, and therefore our shield and buckler also, as he promised to Abraham in Genesis 15:1. I would begin in 1 Samuel 17 and verse 37, when David is before King Saul, and he said, "Look, I've been taking care of my dad's sheep, and I had to kill a lion and a bear." And in that he's saying, God was my defense. He was my shield and my buckler, and he will be against this giant also, he said. And so Saul told him to go, equipped with the equipment he was familiar with. That was his slingshot. And he took 5 stones, as you know the story, and went. In 2 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 31, he says he is a buckler, same word, to all them that trust in him. In 2 Samuel 22 and 36, he says, "Thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation." The word shield there is the same word. And we might note the context of 2 Samuel 22. It begins with verse 1 saying, "And David spoke unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hands of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul." In Psalm 3 and verse 3, he says, "But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me." In the 18th Psalm in verse 2, he says, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower." Again, in verse 30 of the same 18th Psalm, he says he is a buckler to all those that trust in him. And again, in verse 35, he says, "Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation." In the 28th Psalm, in verse 6, he says, "The Lord is my strength and my shield." In the 33rd Psalm, in verse 20, "Our soul waiteth for the Lord, for he is our help and our shield." Again, in the 35th Psalm, verses 1 and 2, he cries out and says, "Please my cause, O Lord, with them that strike against me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler, and here it refers to a small shield and a large shield, and stand up for mine help. Again, in the 84th Psalm, verses 8 and 9, he says, O Lord of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob. Behold, O God, our shield, and look upon the face of thine anointed. And again in Proverbs 2 and verse 7, it says, he is a buckler to them that walk uprightly.